Hello and welcome to Talking Defense, Rafael's Defense Magazine. Every program will be dedicated to a different subject with all relevant experts, data and aspects here in the studio and from around the world. Today, Sky Spotter. With me in the studio are Phil Kravitz, Marketing and Business Development Manager, Alona Mitai, Electro-Optic Early Warning Product Line Manager, both from the Air and C4ISR Division at Rafael, and from the US joins us Colonel Eric Brown, CTO of RSGS. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining me today. Alon, we'll start with you. What exactly is Sky Spotter?
Thanks, Yoav. Sky Spotter is effectively an air surveillance radar, but unlike any other radar, it is based on the technology of infrared sensing, meaning electro-optical sensors that are picking up the airborne targets and present them on C2 system.
What is it good for? Why do we need it? What can it detect that cannot be detected by other means?
Traditionally, radars are used for surveying the sky and finding targets or objects in the sky. However, radars are not so perfect. Even in daily life, we tend to say that someone or an event managed to sneak under the radar. So in order to seal those incompletion of the radar, we are using a complementing technology that is based on different physics and offer great advantages exactly where the radars might struggle.
Phil, on to you. If we look from operational perspective, for example, the Israeli army or any other army, how do you deploy such a system?
Well, the system has many operational performance. For instance, it can passively detect, track, and even bring to a full interception of a enemy jet that is trying to avoid transmitting radar. The pilot won't know what hit him. He won't have any early alert. Another use for the operational use for the system is alerting our civilians or troops for incoming shelters, rockets, something that can save lives.
So anything which is supposed to be undetectable, stealth, or flying very low, for example, cruise missiles. We've seen recently, in a few occasions, the American forces not being able to intercept cruise missiles being shot by Iranian proxies, mainly from Yemen towards Saudi Arabia. So such a system can give a solution to such threats.
Certainly. We've seen not just in Israel, but around the world, and recently in increasing frequency, events in which the radars are being challenged and nations, even superpowers, airspace integrity is being defied by either very sophisticated low signature targets or even sometimes crude objects such as drones. In order to be able to preserve the airspace integrity and be able to properly defend the territory that we want to defend, radars sometimes are not enough, and we need to complement that with EO sensing.
So Eric Brown, on to you in the US. From a global marketing perspective, how do you envision Sky Spotter being deployed or used in the United States, for example?
Yes, Sky Spotter is a very valuable capability to have. As already stated, it reduces the cognitive load for a air traffic controller or a soldier or sailor who has to constantly view the airspace for intrusions. Any country that has a hostile neighbor that you need to ensure that your airspace is secure, Sky Spotter is that tool or that capability that you can bring to provide you that early warning that's needed and as you stated as well, to also defend against low, slow, small cruise missiles and counter UAS. So it's a great add to your kit bag when you're trying to defeat the enemy with the use of these type of threats.
So, Eric, could you envision SkySpotter employment in the future to provide early warning for deployed U.S. forces as we see now in Iraq or Afghanistan, or probably in the future in other places?
Oh, absolutely. If the infrastructure is there to support the deployment or employment of SkySpotter, it's ideal. Especially with some of the technology that's now being employed with the groups 1 through 3 counter UASs. This would be ideal to give a soldier with a mobile device to counter that type of UAS early warning before it even gets into an area of doing any type of damage.
Yes, so Alon, back to you. Speaking of the SkySpotter, you're speaking of intercepting, but it's quite a tool of gathering intelligence as well.
It is. SkySpotter is based on infrared sensors, which are passive and cannot be detected by the enemy. Therefore, not only we can intercept them, as Kfir just mentioned, without the adversary being aware of the fact that they are being tracked, we can also gather valuable information about the enemy's intentions and capabilities and analyze their performance or patterns of life while they are still remain oblivious to the fact that they are being tracked.
Kfir, how complicated it is to deploy that system, the SkySpotter? How many people are needed? How expensive it is?
It's easy to deploy, and it's also a movable platform. It can go on tracks or be dragged by a wagon, a control wagon, and it takes, maybe Alon can help me, but approximately
less than half an hour, and you have the system deployed. Certainly, it would be optimal for a fixed location, but it can relocate or redeploy it with maneuvering forces.
We say that SkySpotter is more than just a sensor, because there are many companies that are manufacturing sensors. I think that the core of the system, the thousands of hours that was invested in the algorithm behind the sensor, that's what makes the SkySpotter unique.
Yes, Eric, you spoke of the U.S. Army, U.S. forces. Do you see it, such a system used by other forces globally as well?
Yes, and just to kind of piggyback off a statement, the SkySpotter, the algorithms is really the crown jewel. It's more than a sensor. All that intelligence and surveillance of the sky is captured, and that's what makes this capability so powerful. Yes. And to answer your question directly, this would be ideal for areas like South Korea and North Korea, where you have a neighbor who is constantly trying to probe and surveil your airspace. So I can see it in potentially Korea area, in the Pacific, potentially Ukraine area. Some of those areas where you have a lot of movement in the airspace to gather intelligence on your neighbor.
Interesting. Eric Brown from the U.S., Alon Amitai and Kfir Kravitz here in Tel Aviv. Thank you very much all for joining me. And that's all from us today. We'll be back shortly with another edition of Talking Defense. Until then, stay safe and stay tuned. Bye-bye.